Hello, everyone. It's Akuna from Greenlux, and welcome to the very first episode of our new series entitled Toolkit Tuesday, where we provide you with the tools to help you live a life that is fulfilling and impactful. So, today's episode is one that I'm pretty excited to speak about because I think in the times that we live in, the significance and the importance of this tool has never been more relevant. I remember the start of the pandemic, the word social distancing was introduced into not just our vocabulary, but also our lives. Little did we know how those two words would shape our lives and not just physically. Human beings are social beings. We're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be in community with each other because that's how we grow, learn, survive, and ultimately thrive. And so the idea of isolating from each other is not in our natural makeup, however important and necessary it is. And so most of us, myself included, felt the intensity of having to do so, even though it was for our benefit. Through this virus, we have had to be, I hope, even more intentional around creating community and building relationships, which many of us, including myself again, often took for granted. I mean, we've all said this at one point or another. Oh, I'll check up on Tato tomorrow, or I'll call Nedu next week because perhaps it was inconvenient to do so, or we just didn't have the time, or we just plain forgot. Whatever the reason, I don't think we can ever underestimate the importance of our relationships. And so, with all that being said, the tool I'm referring to help you live a life that is fulfilling and impactful is this: learn to cultivate healthy relationships. What I mean by this is one's ability to build, engage, and lean into one's relationships. In other words, this refers to the state of being connected or related to as it pertains to friendship, kinship, familial relationship, etc. Basically, it's the support network you've created for yourself. We know that the sense that one is living a worthwhile and meaningful life is fundamental to human flourishing and subjective well being. Research has shown that individuals with supportive and rewarding relationships have better mental health, higher levels of subjective well being, and lower rates of morbidity and mortality. Now, a paper published in the Personality and Social Psychology Review by researchers in Carnegie Mellon University and the University of California emphasized the importance of relationships in supporting individuals, not only in their ability to cope with stress or adversity, but also in their efforts to learn, grow, explore, achieve goals, cultivate new talents, and find purpose and meaning in life. So, you see, it's not just me saying this. Research has shown that relationships have a role in helping you find purpose and meaning in life. And when we're able to find meaning and purpose in our lives, we're not just flourishing, but also living a life that is fulfilling and impactful. I honestly believe that the experience of relating to others is extremely meaningful and important. At least for me, being in relationship with my family, friends, colleagues helps me move outside of myself so that I'm not so preoccupied with me all the time. It offers a dimension and richness to my life that I can't even begin to quantify. I do believe the one good thing that came out of this pandemic, for me at least, was in the richness and depth in my relationships, despite the restrictions that were placed, just because I had to be more intentional about cultivating those relationships by checking in with each other even more. And so, if you're wondering, how do I cultivate healthy, supportive relationships? Well, here are a few essentials that have helped me in cultivating these sort of relationships. This is by no way an exhaustive list, but just a few tips to get you started. Firstly, it's all about intention. What is your intention behind the relationship? I think we underestimate the importance of understanding our relationships. It's part of understanding not only who the other person is or people are, but also who I am in that relationship. And that is key to cultivating the sort of healthy, supportive relationships you wish to have. Self awareness is critical to relationship building because we have to understand what drives us to behave the way we do. We're all a combination of our past experiences, and those affect the lens through which we see the world and our reactions to people and situations. It's why two people can see the same situation in different ways. So, begin to understand the dynamics within your relationships in order to create healthy ones. Another essential practice is trust. Any healthy relationship has to have trust, and part of trust requires vulnerability. The ability to speak up, to share, to actively listen without judgment, to create a safe space which is mutually beneficial is key. Trust is built over time, but more importantly, it is through one's willingness, openness, and curiosity. Because it's not just going to happen until you act into it and practice it as a possibility. In addition, the ability to reinforce boundaries in a kind manner to ensure that the parameters of that relationship are well understood is vital and is an element of trust building, which leads me to the next essential practice or habit, which is setting healthy boundaries. In a healthy relationship, you should feel comfortable communicating your boundaries and know that they will be respected and vice versa for the other party. I recently heard that 99% of complaints are as a result of lack of request. And it makes sense. If those stats are true, the ability to make requests as a form of boundary setting is important so that when someone does step over, which we're human beings, we tend to do, instead of holding a grudge, which kills you inside, you can gently reinforce it by reminding them of what is accepted or what isn't. As human beings, we learn through repetition and practice. That's how we build habits. And so don't be afraid to create boundaries in your relationships. I think a very important aspect to any relationship is empathy and compassion. It is the ability to not only understand and manage our emotions, but also understand the emotions of the people around you. We have all been affected in one way or another as a result of the pandemic. Our relationship dynamics have shifted, and so it's even more paramount that one be a lot more empathetic in our relationships. What that looks like will differ for each person, but at the core, it's this: I see you and I hear you. And finally, last but definitely not least, is continuous interaction or communication. And this looks differently for every relationship. It's about understanding what works within that particular relationship. For example, in my familial relationship, I'm in regular communication with my parents and siblings, which in most instances is daily WhatsApp chats, and this works for us. It's an expectation that we're all comfortable with. On the other hand, a good friend of mine schedule our get-togethers every 2 weeks because we know how busy life gets, and so we're very intentional about cultivating the friendship in that manner. It all depends on the relationship and understanding in its entirety the dynamics and the individuals involved. So, those are 5 essentials to cultivating healthy relationships. Be intentional in understanding the kind of relationship you want. Create a safe space to practice vulnerability as a way to building trust. Set and reinforce boundaries when necessary. Be empathetic and compassionate. And finally, communicate regularly. As always, I'd love to hear from you. How have you cultivated healthy relationships in your life? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked? And what has been the impact of you doing so in living a meaningful life? As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below or send it to us at info@grainlocks.com. Relationship building takes time and energy, yet it has the potential to open our lives to new and wonderful experiences. So, what are you waiting for? Remember, you're worthy of a life that is fulfilling and impactful. So be who you are and be that well. Until next time, take care. Ciao.